I realized last week that I didn't know how to read a profiler flame graph, but I've since learnt and I thought I'd share it with you. Our issue is to know what's going on in this gap here between Hikari created and this created DSL context, and between here when we truncate and here in the where clause. So we're going to go to our test, it's here, and we're going to run just this test with the profiler. There it goes, and then we can open the data. Let's see what we get. Okay then, so what is this showing us? At the top level, this all here is the entire length of time that our program took to run. Within that, we have JUnit running the test, we have some library calls, and the JUnit starter main and run. So these are all at the top level. And the width of these bars is the relative length of time that they took to run. And that's done by sampling where threads are periodically. So you can see it's given us a number of samples. The second level then, you can see that the thing that took most time is the running of dbItems tests 1. And that's this bar here. And if we want to see what's inside that, we can see that that calls returns empty stock list, that calls items in transaction, which goes down, 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 and all these things pretty much took the same length of time because their bar is the same width. Until here, where load class is taking half of the time. So we're calling select on default DSL context, and that's having to load some classes, and that's taking about half the time that it takes to run that test. The thing that's taking the second amount of time at our second level is the constructor for dbItems tests. So that's between here and here. And if we look into that, you'll see that the thing that's taking most time there is our using function. And if we follow that down, you'll see once again that constructing the default DSL context is taking time, and then lots and lots of load classes. So that's this time here, which is pretty much just loading classes. And then the final thing that's taking up the time, again about a third, is cleardb. That's in our before. That's calling execute. And execute for that query is mostly, you can see the width of these bars, creating a connection to the database. So by tracing the width of these bars, you can see that we're mostly spending time between this where and this where here. That's the actual running of the test. And that itself is mostly spending time class loading. The second thing that's taking the time is building the dbItems tests. That's creating our DSL context, and that's mostly class loading. And the third thing here is this cleardb, and that corresponds to this truncate call here, where we're initializing our first database connection. I'm sure the execution of this where here, when in fact the fetch here, would take longer, but we already have a database connection from truncating the table.